morning, everyone. Thank you. Appreciate it. How are you all doing today? Yesterday was good, right? First of all, before we start, let me take the opportunity to congratulate the winners from yesterday. But, okay, everyone is sitting down? Okay, so let's start again. Good morning, welcome. Welcome to the second day of this 41st CIRCOMRegional Annual Congress taking place in Barcelona. So, as I was saying, let me take the opportunity to congratulate all the winners of the PRIX 2025 CIRCOMRegional. I'm sure it's been fantastic to get to know them, chat with them here at the foyer at the Meet the Winners session. Congrats again to you all. And yesterday, we were talking about audiences and technology. And today we return to the heart of what we do, which is journalism. So let's open the last session of the program, which is promoting and protecting good journalism.
Check sound.
The best part about Ross Video is that they have an answer for everything.
Ready, camera one.
Our partnership with Ross goes beyond the blinking lights and very much into the creative.
Take camera one.
Feel the excitement no matter where you're sitting in the building because of that connectivity that we get from the Ross system.
2, 1.
Again, of course, many thanks to our sponsors for their generous support. We'll begin with the presentation of how to make a multi-award-winning short documentary. This is a success story that has transcended its borders, an independently produced documentary series for TV3 that has received awards from around the world, including an international Emmy. With us, we'll have Raül Gallego in a conversation with journalism from TV3 and colleague Raquel Sanz. So please, welcome to the stage. Benvinguts.
Thank you so much.
But it's a lot of pressure in 20 minutes. Tell you how to win an Emmy.
I think, by the way, there's a Q&A afterwards, right? I think we have 5 minutes for...
We have like 10 minutes.
10 minutes for questions and answers? Okay, so...
Then 10 minutes, it's okay.
It's going to be short, 10 minutes. But anyway, let's start. And congratulations again for the winners. We saw you yesterday, so it's nice seeing you back here. So we have the honor to be joined by Raül Gallego, a multi-awarded journalist and documentary filmmaker who has covered most of the major conflicts over the past 20 years. The Second Palestinian Intifada, the Iraq War, the current Ukrainian war. He started reporting in TV3, where we met. That was long ago, and later joined various leading international media, such as the Associated Press, Channel 4, and Al Jazeera English. He has won an international Emmy Awards in the short-form series category for Point of No Return, and other numerous awards, such as the Royal Television Society Award, the Edward R. Morrow Award, 2 Webby Awards, and the Miguel Gil Award, among others. Such a long CV. Congratulations.
Not bad, thank you.
So, should we start with the first trailer first, of Point of No Return?
Yes.
Oh,
I forgot the
you
weapon.
need the power.
It is going to be a point of no return.
There's a point of no return sometimes.
This is a trailer of the first season, plus the first episode of the second season.
And I think you should start by explaining to our audience, how would you define point of no return?
Because I see there is not much hangover from yesterday. I'm going to make a test that I use with another talks. So how many people of you, if you can raise your hand, that feels that we are living in a point of no return right now with the current things that are happening in the world? Oh wow, there is
Quite a few.
I see some optimistic people. But so this is the concept of the series, especially after the pandemic. My feeling is that really things are changing, and not only me. I've talked with friends, journalists, and the idea is to make this series that it's quite connected with current affairs internationally, to try to explain this world that we are living, that it's we are in a for good or more for bad, unfortunately, at a point of no return.
So those were the goals when you decide to do it. Those are the goals that drove you to the series, Point of No Return.
Well, the first goals were first was Trescat. TV3 was starting a new platform, so they approached me and said, "Hey, you would like to do a series that similar the one I was doing previously for Al Jazeera English."
Fly on the Wall.
Fly on the Wall. And they said, we would like you to do this series. And I said, okay, let's try to do it internationally. Can we do it as well in English? The idea was to do something that has quality, international, and that goes beyond Catalonia. And with the idea to as well to win awards and to bring the Trescat brand out of Catalonia. And secretly, because with Fly on the Wall I was nominated to the Emmys 2 years ago. So secretly I was like, let's try to win an Emmy with Trescat, and it worked out.
It happened. So Point of No Return is kind of an evolution of Fly on the Wall.
It's an evolution of Fly on the Wall that was for 2 years in Al Jazeera English. But as well, I think it's an evolution since I started working a long time ago with the obsession to reach to the audience, no matter format. Also, I think I've been lucky that I work in all the formats, from 30 minutes to long form, to current affairs, to daily news, to a news agency, hardcore breaking news, to arty-farty documentaries.
And what does your editorial independence, what's the role that it plays when you have to work for a corporation, even if it's a bigger or a smaller one?
I think in this case, it's one of the secrets of the success of Point of No Return, that I've been pretty lucky, that I had a lot of freedom, a lot of independence to do what I thought editorially, and also on the format. It starting that the first stories were like around 20 minutes, and then we saw that it was working as well. That was 30 minutes was working with the audience, and then we end up doing double episodes. I've been very lucky that I had absolute freedom.
Let's break it down to the process itself, maybe, because I guess that we are all curious about how does an episode of Point of No Return begin?
Well, first is this idea of the concept, let's try to tell stories, in what is going on. But first, try to reach the audience. Second, try to find new angles, new aspects. And I think that's exclusive access. I think one of the most important things has been exclusive access in stories that they've been overtold. And suddenly, even the local people is like, oh, wow, how you find this story, We can put maybe some examples.
We'll put them, we'll put them in a minute, because I think it's interesting to get to know that you make a big bet on these other stories. We were talking previously, it's like no black or white, there's always the middle or the gray area. Maybe you try to get into the gray area through the back door, and you get these amazing stories. That's one of the key of the success, I think.
I can put the example of the first episode of the first season was about the conflict of Israel and Palestine, and was a moment that I felt I had to anticipate. There was a new group of armed resistance in the West Bank, and everybody was expecting that the Israeli army was going to do a crackdown, especially in the stronghold in Jenin. And I covered the second Intifada, and I felt, oh wow, the story is repeating. And I wanted to show that, especially this new young generation of Palestinian fighters in Jenin, they are neither terrorists, neither freedom fighters, you know? I wanted to go and approach also taboo aspects that neither, in that case, Palestinians confronted, you know? And I didn't want to interview the leaders, you know, the typical image of the guy with a mask, with a gun is very powerful, but I wanted to show who are these young guys that decided to resist the Israeli army, and they talk openly, totally openly, saying, look, we are just, if you see the episode, they say, we are just waiting here to be killed. But at the same time, you know, I went to ex-Al-Aqsa Brigade's fighter that spent 12 years in jail. He's totally pro-Palestinian for the resistance, but at the same time, he was honest and he said, look, these guys are like me when I was young, but the armed struggle is not working out. And this is a taboo issue, you know, as well as complaining against the Palestinian Authority. So this is one of the aspects. It happened again with the Ukrainian conflict story. If you want to explain, I arrived in Ukraine when there is the 7th of October. So I was like, oh, I have to compete with a story that people was already tired. There is a big breaking news. My friends were like, you have to go to Israel and Palestine. It's like, and I just landed in Ukraine. And that's another aspect of the story. Sometimes it's like all the media is already there, you know. So I'm just going to be here because for me it's a great moment that nobody pays attention to this story. So the same was this idea, oh, how I can tell the story of Ukraine war that goes beyond this triumphalistic image of like, oh, the offensive, that was not arriving on that time. And when the reality is that there was a meat grinder of soldiers on the front line, I wanted also to confront the hate that was growing inside Ukraine, and as well to show the reality of the front, you know, apart from going to the front, the injured people. So we managed to get access that nobody has done the story of the soldiers that do the death notification to the relatives. And I felt that was more powerful than any image of the violence or fighting on the front line.
I think it's clear the philosophy behind Point of No Return, what drives you to do the story is what is worth telling or not. But I want to talk about the narrative and the way you shoot your Point of No Return. Let's see the trailers and then we'll get into the mechanics of it.
Let's do it. No, trailers.
13, 14, 15-åringar dödar varandra, de dödar familjer och spränger hus. Adrenalinet kickar och sen när man skjuter blir man har stress, men det är ändå skönt för att man har nya ting. Jag hämnar på Soringen. Han fick det han fick.
Ingen sitter ju riktigt säker idag.
Tyvärr det är mycket kriminalitet, droger och sånt, så det är riktigt tufft faktiskt.
And integration failed.
Så när svensk går förbi här, han tror jag är kriminell, han är kriminell, min bror är kriminell.
They didn't want us to integrate with the Swedish people.
This is another example of, we'll show then another trailer, but Sam, this is a story actually that I wanted to do since 2019. A Swedish friend of mine told me, wow, there is shooting, explosions in Sweden, and even now, people out of Sweden don't know that this is happening. And I said, oh, I want to go and tell this story. But the few stories that I saw was also very sensationalist, you know, like focusing on the guys, the gun, you know, and I said, oh, let's try to understand why this is happening in Sweden, you know, like a country that we all think is, welcome refugees, ABBA, you know, like a
safe country.
And why this is happening. And as well, I wanted to tell the story of the young guys from migrant origin, how they feel as well, the ones that are not part of the gang groups, you know? And also that was one of the key that I got access to the gangs group, because they say, oh, we understood that you not just coming to film the guns, the weapons, the drugs, you're also coming to tell the story of the other people that are not totally involved in this. And also I had to spend a lot of time smoking joints with these guys to get the access. But yeah, that's another example of go there, try, and even inside this story, there is a lot of issues that are taboo in Sweden, you know, like that's what I discovered, you know.
And sometimes coming from a smaller television also helps, I think.
It helps, and sometimes helps, sometimes it's a problem, you know, when you know, because you've been in the US
DC,
as a correspondent.
Yes.
And I think it's the same with all the regional TVs here. When you go and you are not BBC, Al Jazeera, big broadcast, you know, before I work with AP, Channel 4 and Al Jazeera, and oh, you have, it's quite easy to get access. But when you are coming and say, hey, I'm 3 cats, 3 cats, 3 dogs, what is this, you know? TV Catalonia, and it's really difficult to get access when you are a small TV. But at the same time, sometimes goes on your advantage because you are in a low key and they say, yes. Oh, who is this guy? Okay, let him stay here. Really nobody's going to watch this. You know, so, yeah, nobody's going to watch. So, so yeah, it's, so we can see
the other one.
The other trailer.
Let's go for it.
There is no honest, innocent civilians in Gaza Strip, period.
These are not people, these are animals.
They want to kill us.
We murder something like 16,000 children.
You cannot have democracy if you're also occupying.
I'm refusing to be part of killing sister.
How did we get into this balagan, or this mess called Israel?
The same. This episode, I started the beginning of the episode explaining this is only about Israeli Jewish society. You know, like I thought that was necessary to do a story focusing on this aspect, different opinions, and always more radical right wings is very clear their message, but it's like I thought it was necessary to explain that there is almost no left, and how confused there were the so-called progressive, and as well how there is a very clear taboo message of to put on the table. Like we see this, I think it's very powerful when you have a Jewish Israeli saying, hey, look, we are doing the same that we suffer, you know, we escape from monsters to become monsters, you know. And I thought was an important message, and as well that it's still a taboo, you know. Mm-hmm. So it was very important that come from them.
I think we can say that you have a very personal cinematic style in the way you film or shoot your stories. How do you combine that with the journalistic ethics? Is that challenging? Is that something easy for you to do?
For me, it's not. The cinematic style is a way to reach the audience as well. I enjoy doing this style. Also, sometimes for me, it's a way that we are now attention deficit disorder. So it's like, oh, how we do it to get the attention of the audience. For example, when I did the story of the indigenous, like First Nations in Canada, protecting their territory, fighting against the climate change, the story starts with an First Nation chief saying, I can hear the trees. They say, help me, help me. So, you know, this is a narrative, you know, aspect instead of we are in Canada, you know, or Joseph every day in the morning wakes up and goes to the fields, you know. So it's part of the more cinematic narrative, but everything that appears, it's in the story, it's verified. You know, it's a journalistic exercise. Even I think it's a stronger journalistic exercise when you put verified information on the table that rarely the mainstream media it's it's talking about.
I don't know if we can talk about specific narrative elements that are crucial for you to build a story that lasts 20 minutes, 25? So something that's really, or several things that you consider in narrative that you consider basic, key for your product.
Well, I think it's this cinematic style. I always tell the same, I'm bored of myself. But at some point of my career, I saw how, for me, it was shocking that we all watch fiction movies and we cry. But then we get used, there is this hyper-normalization of the daily news of hardcore, the kid dying of hunger, the war, the refugee drowning in the Mediterranean Sea, you know, we normalize. And then when I was working with AP, I need to show, you know, very explicit, you know, and people need to know. And it was creating the opposite effect, you know, plus the format of daily news, it creates, we hyper-normalize, we normalize all this suffering. And then I said, oh, wow, I need to tell the story in a more cinematic way so people will get attention. And then as well, I think about the rhythm, you know, like now the majority of the stories are like 30 minutes, but it's the same, you know. I think on the narrative, you know, going up and down, but this is nothing new. It's been told. It's not that I discover something
well, maybe
new.
You've discovered the way to put them together in a different way.
But it's like that, you know. It's like sometimes like you cannot just make a story that is all hardcore depressing. You know, you have to suddenly change, you know.
Rhythm,
so people need a break, like you know, like to continue watching the story. It's a mix of storytelling, narrative techniques, you know, and also being aware what other media is doing, what the younger audience, you know, we are all obsessed to capture the audience. My friends that have teenager kids, I make them watch the episodes and then get feedback. So it's a mix of techniques, you know, that comes from my experience, different formats, and also having fun and trying new things. You know, like the episode that I did about AI in Japan, I used ChatGPT as a narrator of the story. You know, so yeah.
So proving different things. That's interesting. Telling your friends and their kids to watch your films and then get their impression. So you really, what I see is that you're really always innovating in trying to get the response of or the feedback and proving, failing, a little bit like that, I guess. Well, you have a long career, so you've been proving a lot already.
I mean, that's the point of our job, I think, is to reach the audience, you know? I mean, of course, the words are nice, that people tell you, oh, it's a great story, but at the end, what you want is your story to reach the maximum audience, you know?
So how do you do to be the director, the cameraman, the producer? And I don't know what other roles we could say at the same time. And
music advisor, I don't know, like
you're all
for
together,
yeah.
all the roles at once.
You know, it's funny because it's the same. It's nothing new. Like when I started working, TV3 also was one of the pioneers in doing here was like the ENG, the electronic news gathering. Now everybody calls the video journalist. So in a lot of the newsroom, there was this figure of the video journalist that does everything. And sadly, I don't know, it feels that it's kind of disappear, you know? Because also it's very hard job, you know? Sometimes I feel like one of these orchestra mans, you know, like, you know, like, but I don't know, I'm a journalist that I choose video, camera to tell the story instead of writing. It's like, for me, it's like driving a car, you know, at the beginning it seems so complicated, but then you get used. And I see, there is not a lot, but I see other people that they work in the same style and they are really good. And it's been now this process sometimes that, for example, I prefer to be a small team on the ground because it gives you more access. You know, like this, for the access that I have, if I arrive with a team of 4 people, no way I would get this access.
Right.
And also, people always like, oh, they seem so natural, the people you interview. They look like you know them since long time ago. One of the secrets is I'm very charismatic. No. It's a small team, you know? It's a small team.
That definitely helps. So I think that the final question is, what are your pending challenges? What are you planning? Do you still want to be more innovative? I don't know. Have you thought about that or just...
Well, I mean, to survive the AI disruption,
Yes.
that it's continue reaching the audience, For me, I love the idea that from Trescat, we managed to reach to the world, And the idea is, for me, a nice challenge is that you don't need to be in a big mainstream media,
yeah.
to reach the audience. I mean, this is, for me, this is so cool, Like when we were like in the Emmys Awards, so it was so nice, or other awards, that usually it's like National Geographic, New York Times, BBC, Channel 4, and suddenly it's like 3-cut, So it's actually very cool, And so yeah, continue with this idea to try to reach the audience and to try to make our job meaningful, Like in a more and more dystopic world, sometimes I struggle a lot to think this is useful, what we are doing. And there is so many videos, and there is a lot of media noise, but also there is a lot of people doing really good work, So sometimes I struggle. It's like, what I should do, to feel that it's really useful what I'm doing,
So do you need a period of time where, after coming from, I don't know, from Israel, Ukraine, Palestine, you need to stop? Well, of course, you edit the story, and then do you need to get a time to think, or you have to keep on moving all the time and thinking while you're moving? I mean, how do you organize your work?
Depends on the deadlines and the contract.
Okay, so that's no question then. Okay.
No, but always you are on this exercise of thinking,
All the time.
Like all the time, and the stories. I think especially the ones that we are independent or freelancers, it's always like that,
And I've always heard, and I think that's very nice, that being generally by yourself as a video journalist, it is very important, the local producers. Right?
I know, it's the most important.
That's something that we have to honor somehow, right?
Last talk I did, I put a big screen with all the photos, There is always, you like to work alone? It's like, no, I don't work alone. And I show all the team of producers that I have 1 or 2 local producers. I prefer to use the budget that maybe a producer would fly with me from Barcelona to pay properly a local producer, or that I can, part of the budget, to spend longer time, Like, I mean, without them, it's not possible to do the story. And always when we start working, I always say, this is your story as my story, It's a total team. And when there is awards as well, they appear, and it's a story, it's like from them as well,
Good to say, I think. So I think we're run out of time. Perfect. Good. So now is it like the Q&A or? Yeah. Okay.
We'll start the Q&A. We have a new system here. It's super cool. It's been great to have you here, guys. So I'm sure our colleagues in the audience have questions for Raül. So you know the deal. If you don't know it, you have to scan this QR code that you have on the screen, and then you can type your question, and we'll recite the question in here. And you'll have, I don't know, like 5 minutes or so to answer. 5, 10. We'll fill in here.
5, I think.
Okay, so it was great. It's great to see, that the editorial ambition has nothing to do with the corporate size, right?
No, totally.
Okay, first question. What narrative elements do you consider key for a short documentary to emotionally connect with global audiences? Wow, it's a tough one.
I think we are all, it sounds kind of like, Paulo Coelho, cheap philosophy, but it's true that there is more in common than what we think, That's actually a good question, because even our different stories from different countries, I always think on try to find aspects in the story, in the narrative, that people will feel connected. And more in this world that we are so global. And I see this with the young people. Like 20 years ago, a teenager from Palestine was very different from a teenager from Barcelona. But now they have more in common than differences. So try to sometimes to connect emotionally. I try to see that when you see the story, first that the audience feel what I was feeling, and also the person that I'm interviewing, you know? And then it's like to go beyond, like when I did the stories about US troops in Afghanistan, for example, everybody felt connected, you know? Everybody saw the people under the uniform or the weapon. I did this documentary about women drug users in Nepal, and all the people that watched the documentary, they were saying, oh, we fall in love with this woman, you know? So,
because maybe you see them on a daily basis, their routine, which you hardly see on the mass media, right? So you get to know that person as a person on a daily basis. So you get to get their... well, that's what I see in your stories, right?
You know, another thing, people are not stupid. Now they see that you are really interested in the story. Yeah. And then they appreciate that and they give you more access. Exactly. You know, when you go there like, you know,
and they
can feel it, they understand. Mm-hmm. And then when they see that you are genuinely interested, that you go there to listen, then they give you more access than other people.
Mm-hmm. The regular things they do.
That's also a deep question, still talking about feelings. Do you filter out your personal beliefs and feelings? If so, how?
I think objectivity 100% don't exist, and we see now more than ever in a super polarized world. But at the same time, core of myself, I'm a journalist, and I try to be fair as much as I can and verify. You know, none of the stories that are lies. You know, everything that appears in the story, even it's from a personal point of view there is no journalist narration, but all the information that appears. It's real, you know, like the story I did about the First Nations in Canada. So they were explaining how the Providential Fund of the police, the Royal Mounted Police of Canada, is connected to the pipeline project that is destroying. So this is true, you know. I make the research, you know. So and this is something that usually don't appears on the news, you know.
No.
Now you understand why the police beat the shit of the protesters, you know? It's my Providential Fund, you know?
Okay, let's say one more. What's your answer to your own question? Have we reached the point of no return? You said before that the first one... You already answered,
have
right?
we reached the point? I mean, we are at a point of no return, but still there is some hope, you know? It's true that it's funny, or sad, when I was doing the stories for Fly in the Wall, there was more hope than this series, you know? But when you go to the places, like it's really, we are in a very low moment of humanity, but sometimes we need to touch a little bottom so people to react, you know? And I feel that even how bad, I mean, there is also hope, you know? We forgot sometimes when we see so much things that there is a lot of really positive things going on the world, no? There is this, I think it's great, this series of TV, I'm not doing promotion, but it's Hope, you know, about environmental issues. And I thought, oh, wow, this is great, you know?
We had a question before that I don't know if we can see it again. Someone was asking, what are you working on now? What's your next story? Can you, or you don't want to, you know, you don't want someone to steal it?
I cannot say, no.
Okay, so last one.
No, I can say.
You can say? Okay.
I'm doing
Don't steal it.
The last episode of the second season of Point of No Return, and it's a story that nobody is paying attention. There is a student strike in Serbia. It's one of the longest strikes that happen in Europe. They've been more than 7 months striking, that it's insane, and we're gonna discover how it's beyond just a student strike, because there is lithium, Trump, Russia, China, and maybe that's why nobody talks about it, you know, because there is so many interests.
Okay, so
there's this final one. I don't know if you want to do it or.
Can we take one more? No.
No,
I don't think so. No. Sorry. No, but no, there's a cool thing. No, there's a cool thing about this app. You can keep sending questions, and through the app you can answer it. So good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you can meet and chat. You can meet the chat outside.
Easier to ask me because I don't know.
We'll have lunch in a couple of hours, and we can also meet and greet. So thank you so much. It's been awesome to have you here.
Thank you to the organization. It's been amazing.
Thank you, Raúl. Thank you, Raquel.